Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Guys, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
What do I tell you? The golden rule on this show is what? Never bet against that one man, Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Guess what? There has been an avalanche of money bet on Tom Brady and the Bucs against the Rams.
Swung the line.
They swung the line from Rams were favored by half point to they're now 2.5-point dogs because everybody says, I'm going to listen to what Skip says. I'm going to bet on Brady.
Yeah,
right?
And y'all both, you about to lose some due and they about to lose some money.
Really?
Yep.
I think somebody's in huge trouble sitting across from me.
That is a good rule around here. Never bet against Tom Brady.
Yep,
Bill
golden
Belichick's
rule.
Feeling that way? Oh, we're going to talk about that in just a bit. But there is some drama brewing in Philly, and I have the latest, guys. According to reports, Ben Simmons has played his last game in a Sixer uniform. The star guard has informed the team he will not report to the start of training camp and will never play another game for the 76ers. So, Shannon, how will this end?
Ben Simmons is going to get traded. It was always going to end this way, Skip, after the playoff debacle in which they lost to the Atlanta Hawks. Mm-hmm. Ben Simmons, one field goal attempt in the fourth quarter over the last 6 games of the series. And after Doc Rivers said what he said after Game 7, after Joel Embiid said what he said after Game 7, I came in here that Monday and I said, Skip, he's going to get traded. He's out of there. I said, there's no way. You ask the head coach, do you believe you could? Now, here's your all-star point guard. You mentioned, you know all the accolades in which he possessed, Skip. Yeah. And you was like, I can't answer that right.
We should see that right now. Okay. And then you can continue. Okay. Let's see what Doc answered.
Doc, do you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
You better lie.
Yep.
Yes, I believe he can. I believe Ben will continue to work to get better. And yes, we can be a championship team, even if you don't believe it.
I agree.
You got to say the thing.
I agree.
Because once you said that, you're the head coach. And then Joel Embiid follows it up. Like, when did you feel the momentum shift? Well, I felt it shifted when we had a layup and we ended up getting 1 point.
Since you brought that up, let's see that.
I don't know how to say it, but I thought the turning point was just, we had an open shot and, we made one free throw and we missed the other, and then they came down and scored, and we didn't get a good possession.
Okay, and before you continue, let's see that play. Yeah. Let's see the shot that got turned down. Whoops. Wait a second.
I mean, that's 6'10", and here comes 6 foot to challenge you. And you pass it off to Thibault.
Yep.
And that was it. And so, Skip, from that moment on, I knew there's no way that Ben Simmons was going to come back. The only thing that I hope is that Ben Simmons remain professional. I know he said he's not going to show up, and he has no intention. I get that. But remain professional, Ben. Go to camp. Be professional. I know it's going to be hard.
Oh, you want him to go?
Yes, Skip. Because, Skip, I don't want... Look, here's the thing. I believe both parties want to move on, but the 76ers are perfectly content letting Ben Simmons take the PR hit, because behind the scenes they've been talking about this. There've been little things leaking out over the last couple of years. Ben Simmons could possibly be traded. Yada yada yada. Ben Simmons made it abundantly clear. I believe he believed that you hitched your wagon to Joel Embiid.
Yep.
There is not room for the both of us, and so I think the best thing for the both of us to do is to part ways. The Sixers are perfectly content now, Skip, because who's getting all the PR bad here? It's Ben Simmons. The Sixers like, oh, we want him. Deep down inside, we don't want him. But we want him. We believe we can win a championship. He's a vital piece of our organization. He was a part of the rebuilding, the process. No, we don't. We're trying to trade him. We're trying to maximize the value. But here's the thing, Skip. Once he said what he said, and the teams know that you're trying to get rid of him, they know he doesn't want to be there, Skip. Why am I going to pay you maximum value for something, Skip, when I know you got to get rid of it? I'm going to sit back and chill. You have to take pennies on the dollars for this, bro. Or is going to be terrible while he's there. So for me, Skip, Ben, you're going to have to take a deep look at yourself too now, bro. At some point in time, you're going to have to get better, exponentially better if you want to be a great player. It's not good enough. And people need to stop telling him, Ben, you don't need to be able to shoot a jump shot. He's the point guard. He's not a center. He's the point guard. He's going to have the ball in his hands the lion's share of the time. He cannot become unplayable, Skip, late in ball games. He can't do that. Ben Simmons is not if, it's just a matter of when he moves on from the 76ers.
So, from the start, you have been down on Ben Simmons as a basketball player. His overall value you have questioned.
I don't believe and I haven't seen what you see. You believe he can be, but I haven't seen it.
I see superstar. I see can't replace. I see so much to love, as well as one small thing that can be fixed to be hated. And that is, he's got the demons in his head about the free throw line.
Right.
We've seen a lot of other stars get same demons. LeBron fights with them occasionally, but not to this level. At least LeBron, late in games, if it's just an absolute must, will risk going to the free throw line and shooting the free throws. He got to the point where his IQ is so high, he just said, I will go out of my way to avoid the late game free throw line. Right. To your point, that makes you unplayable because they're just going to hack a bin.
Correct.
Because they see it in your body language. You are going to shrink and shy from the free throw line. But I cannot, as the old saying goes, throw out the baby with the bathwater, because the bathwater might be foul, but the baby is super, and he's still an NBA baby.
Well, you better see, what kind of baby is it? Is it a baby tiger, a baby lion? Well, I'm going to get rid of him because I already know what it's going to grow up to be.
Okay. I'm going to reiterate to you, he won Rookie of the Year, which you actually endorsed on this show, over Donovan Mitchell, which I did not love, but he won it.
He won it. He did do that.
And then in each of his next 3 NBA years, he made the All-Star team.
Yes.
And in the last 2 years, he made first team All-Defense. And 2 years ago, he led the whole league in steals at 6 feet 10 inches tall. He has averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists on his way to, at some point in his career, obviously averaging a triple-double.
Yeah.
And all I know is that I did see that one game last February with no Embiid. They went to Utah. They did lose the game, but he got upset to the point of furious that Rudy Gobert was getting so much attention for Defensive Player of the Year, right?
Right.
So what happened? He goes out that night solo with no Embiid, and he scores 42 in Gobert's face, making 15 of 26 shots, 9 rebounds, and 12 assists while going from the free throw line 12 out of 13. You can't tell me he's not capable of making free throws. Any human who can go into an NBA game and make 12 out of 13 has the capability to be a decent free throw shooter in the league.
Let's give him a
capability.
Okay, but here's the thing. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Tom Brady had only one come-from-behind victory. Would you still say the one guy I don't bet against is Thomas Edward Patrick? Oh, exactly. Well, so he's had one of those games, and now you're saying you're willing to hit your wagon?
We're just talking about the potential to do. He's left-handed, obviously. Right. Just to do that. The stroke always looks nice to me.
Yes.
It looks solid. It looks like I could work with that.
Skip,
it's in your head.
Okay, maybe
it's psychological. He needs deep therapy over this. He needs a shot doctor, as in Dr. Freud or Dr. Phil, right?
But what about, Skip, if he gets those things and just be elsewhere? Maybe it's a time for a change of scenery.
All right, I got you. But here's my issue. The more I've thought about this and slept on it, if I'm the Sixers right now, because I have such high regard for him, I'm not going to trade him. I'm especially not going to give him away, but I'm not going to give in to Rich Paul's demands. And I have complimented Rich Paul because he did the right thing for his player, because those are near bridge burning quotes that we just saw. But then after I slept on it last night, I started thinking, Was it not heat of moment? Was it not agony of defeat? Was it not you just got upset by the little upstarts from Atlanta at home in a Game 7?
Okay, I get that, Skip. I would give
How many
that.
things get said in anguish after a loss?
I would give you that had Doc Rivers been a first-year coach. Doc Rivers is a championship-winning coach.
You're right. I mean, that's fair. It's fair. I also think he's got such a silver tongue. He can be so persuasive, and he's already met with Ben at least once that I know of in the offseason, maybe more than once.
Right.
Can he not make amends? Can he not mend the fence over time if he'll just come to camp and try to get back into the good graces of the team and try to make it right?
I tell you another guy that said he didn't want to come. And he came to camp, and he says, I'm coming to camp, but I'm coming with the anticipation that you're going to trade me. That was one, Anthony Davis. And how did that end up?
Okay,
because Dale Demps thought that if I get him here, he's going to be around his guys. He was like, yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Was that New Orleans team the 1 seed in the West that year?
No.
Guess what Philly was last year? They were the 1 seed in the East, so something was okay, right?
Yes.
Something was real okay.
But I think the thing is, Skip, I believe you have a higher value placed on Ben Simmons than the Sixers have placed on him.
I don't know about that because I have a very high-placed source there who just 2 years ago told me that all the way up to the top, to the ownership, that they favor Ben Simmons over Joel Embiid for the long haul. And you know all of Joel's injury issues and stomach issues.
Right.
He's always got some issue going on.
Right.
Plus, he can be a little out there sometimes and a little hard to predict, like big mood swings from night to night, in it or not in it, like into it or not into it. So, again, Ben Simmons is completely even keel. Like he just goes out and again, he doesn't have high motor, but he's got steady motor, right? He just plays.
Okay.
Listen, for long stretches of the Atlanta series, he took poor little Trey right out of the action, right? He just envelops you with his length and his smarts and his athletic ability. He's subtle athlete. He's like a smooth athlete where it's not spectacular athleticism, but he is gifted at 6'10".
Okay.
So here's the other issue. Just a year ago, they gave him a max contract. It has 4 more years to go on it.
Yep.
Okay? So they committed to you, and I know it's become the new way of the world. James Harden or Anthony just says, I want out.
Right.
And the team just crumbles and bends over and just says, okay, you got me.
Right.
I'm done. I'm down on my knees for you. Where do you want? Where do you want to go? Oh, you want to go to L.A.?
Yep.
Okay, we'll make it happen. I know they had to go through 2 rounds of that, but they made it happen. James, where do you want to go? How about Brooklyn? Oh, okay, we'll make that happen. I just got the feeling that the Sixers might be the first team to say, you know what? We gave him the money. He made the $33 million last year, and we're going to keep paying him if he comes to camp. And if he doesn't, you know what's going to happen? At some point, the NBA will step in and suspend him. But at some point, they don't have to pay him. He does have one of those weird payout systems where they're like quarterly kind of payments. So it's like $8.3 million is not owed until October 1st. But could they withhold their $8.3 on October 1st if he's not playing? Yes, they could.
But he's saying, guess what, Skip? If you trade me, I'm no longer on your books. That'll be somebody else's responsibility to pay me.
Okay.
Yes, you gave me the extension, but you wouldn't have to pay a dime of it because the 4-year kicks in this year. So you wouldn't have to worry. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, but you've backed the Sixers into such a corner. They are classically damned if you do or damned if you don't. Because if you say, okay, we'll take the best offer on the table, well, that's damned if you do because it's not going to be very good, to your point. And if you don't, you're going to have a very unhappy camper. Well, the next question is, how long will that camper hold out? What if the Sixers, for the first time in a long time in the NBA, just say, sorry, we got you for the next 4 years. If you want to stay at home, you can just stay at home. How long would that last? Now we're into the psyche of Ben Simmons. How long would he sit? Would he sit out a year and lose $33 million?
No, I don't believe he'll sit out, nor should he sit out. But he'll come to camp and he'll be like James Harden. It became abundantly clear James Harden was not happy in Houston. And after a while, they said, yeah, you're going to come. We're going to make you play.
Well, not only did he came to camp after breaking all the COVID rules in Las Vegas and Atlanta, remember?
Yes.
And right away, he's completely out of bounds on the COVID protocol.
Right.
So he was just daring that. And he came to camp, dare I say, a little heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he said, look, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to show you I do not want to be here. And eventually, the ownership said, you know what? We just can't have this guy around here because he doesn't want to be here, and it's starting to rub off. You remember what Boogie said about the situation, Skip Bayless? And a lot of other guys were complaining, so they ended up moving him out. It shouldn't have to get to this. You made your point. You believe Joel Embiid is the guy that can lead you where you want to go. You would love to have Ben, but I believe in the back of their minds, Skip, Ben hasn't improved enough from where he was as a rookie. You keep giving me, yes, he was Rookie of the Year, but has he
3 straight All-Star teams?
Yeah.
Really? 2 straight defense, first team All-Defense? Really?
Since they've been keeping these stats, Ben Simmons set an NBA record for the worst free throw percentage shooting in the playoffs, 34%. Mm-hmm. Now, there have been some bad free throw shooters, from Ben Wallace to Chris Haley to Shaq to Will Chamberlain. He's worse than all of them. He's a point guard.
Okay, got the demons in his head, fixable on the couch. You got to put him on the couch.
Well, maybe the demons won't be in Sacramento. Maybe the demons won't be in Portland, and he'll be able to rid those demons.
I don't know. Would Rich Paul and Ben sign off on Sacramento? I'm not sure they would.
I mean, from what I've heard, is that any place other than Philly. So I don't know what other places they are in the NBA, but anywhere other than Philly.
Well, there are only 2 ways out to me that would be the deal that both will accept, and it would involve Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal, and that's it. I don't see any other way out of this mess that they're locked in, this game of chicken that they're locked in, except those 2 places, because those are 2 deal for deals where you would get back a semblance of what you're giving.
Skip, it's a situation where you know you should get rid of something. You know the longer you hold on to it,
I don't know that they know they want to get rid of it.
Skip,
does Daryl Morey think that?
Skip, there's been too much rumblings about possibly trading Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons has tired of hearing his name thrown up in trades.
Yep.
So now he's like, okay, since this has been going around over the last year, I'm going to put some people's feet to the fire.
Okay, but Daryl Morey didn't blast Ben Simmons after the loss.
No. Well, hey.
So he's the guy pulling the trigger, right? He's the guy in charge.
Skip, I would recommend, I would say if I could speak to Ben Simmons, which I can't, I would say, Ben, go to camp. Be professional. Professional doesn't mean you're just an NBA player. Professional is how you go about your business.
Okay.
Go about your business with the anticipation that they're going to do right by you because you're going to do right by them by showing up to camp and being professional. But I want to make it abundantly clear. I'm coming in here, Doc. I'm going to do what you ask me to do, but I want to be traded. Joel Embiid, don't F with me, bro. Daryl Morey, I want out.
Well, Embiid has said recently all the right things, like he's tried to wave the peace flag to him, right?
When Joel Embiid was upset, what did he say? Remember the 3 people that will tell you the truth?
Yeah.
Angry people, kids, and drunk.
Yeah.
Now Joel Embiid wasn't drunk, and he's not a kid. Although
I don't know. He's got a lot of kid in him.
He has some kid-like behavior. But in that moment, he was just upset because he had lost a 7-game series, and it was on his home court, Game 7.
Correct. I got it. In the end, it's still all about the general manager and the owner. And I can tell you they will cling to one stat. And that stat says that in the 34 games that they have been without Ben Simmons over his tenure in Philadelphia, they're 17-17. Right. And in those 34, if you look at what happened to them defensively, they have averaged more than 5 points allowed a game more without Ben Simmons. Because he is a difference maker on the defensive end. Right. That has nothing to do with free throw shooting. You are dead right about everything you say about free throws. They have to get fixed. And I was slightly troubled that he was in such a free throw funk. He wouldn't even play for his Olympic team in Australia. And I think it had a lot to do with the free throw demons. Like, I don't want to have to go subject myself to this in the Olympics on the international stage again, right?
Skip, you mentioned, when you talk about Ben, you always mention the games in which he's played well. But you look at his best games, when he played well, who wasn't playing at all? Okay. So how do you move forward with that? You mentioned that 42-point game. Joel Embiid was a late scratch. You remember that playoff game against the Brooklyn Nets?
The Jared Dudley Memorial game? When Jared took a shot at him, he said, okay, watch this.
Yes. Who wasn't playing?
Joel was not important.
So
I got you, okay? So you can almost make an argument they've been a little better apart and a little better with Ben instead of Joel. Mm-hmm. You can make a case.
Right.
But again, together, they were the 1 seed.
Yes.
That's all the GM has to sit back and think, gee, maybe we should just dig in here and say, no, we're not going to trade you.
But what did it come down to, Skip? When you're dealing with two guys like that, and they both believe they're superstars, eventually, Skip, Magic and Kareem would work because Magic was willing, Cap, what do you want? How do I make it?
Called him Cap.
Yes.
Called him captain,
but Skip,
yes.
we get two guys, and both are trying to I'm the dog. I know it's me. Eventually, what's going to happen? They got to go their separate ways. And Ben Simmons is like, I believe you've shown favoritism towards Joel Embiid. I believe you've done things to say, this is Joel Embiid's team. Mm-hmm. It's time for me to go. And even if I don't have my own team, I want to be away from here.
Okay. Bottom line to this, it could come down to this. What if the Sixers do dig in and just say, I'm sorry, if you don't want to play, just go home and we're not going to pay you. And the NBA is going to suspend you at some point.
No, I'm going to get paid.
Well, let's do the hypothetical.
Okay.
Think about this. How long would Ben Simmons sit? Would he sit for the whole year and lose the 33?
No.
Here's my point. He's different. His mindset is different than a lot of players where I don't know that he needs basketball to be happy. Like, if we go back to Magic and Bird, they just live to hoop, you know, I'm going to play. So if you tell them you got to sit out a whole year, they're going to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that, right?
No.
They're not made that way. But he strikes me as the kind of young man who's very stubbornly proud, very high principled. Mm-hmm. That's why he's standing by his principles on this. Mm-hmm. Like, they wronged me, so I got to go.
Okay.
But the point is, he might stand on his principles so strongly, he might be the kind who would sit a whole year and then force the trade next summer.
I don't believe he has great representation with Rich Paul, and I believe Rich Paul will advise against sitting out, leaving $33 million on the table. I just believe, Skip.
It wouldn't help Rich.
Right, but my thing is, Skip, is that I'm going to go to camp, and I'm going to be professional, but I've made it abundantly clear. And when reporters ask me, I've made it clear to them, they know what my stance is. I prefer to be elsewhere.
Okay.
Anytime anybody asks me, I prefer to be elsewhere.
Okay, well, if leading up to the trade deadline, Dame comes available or Bradley Beal comes available.
Oh, no, whoa, hold on. That's in the middle of the season.
That's what I'm saying.
Man, I ain't trying to wait that long.
I'm saying that it may take that long for this to reach the fruition that the Sixers would get fair market value back.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do? Who the owner? I'm parking my car in this spot every day.
Josh Harris.
Okay, Josh Harris. You would find one of the other parking spots. Because Ben Simmons, I'm going to back my Ferrari right in your spot.
Really?
Every day.
I think you just got suspended.
Hey.
Yep. Well, here we go.
Every day.
Here we go.
Talk about it.
I'm coming out practice, but I ain't practicing nothing but a jock, Jenny. My jock and my jersey, that's the only thing I'm practicing in. Y'all gonna get me up out of here.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that?
That's it. That's all I got for you.
Must you do that? Oh, okay, Shannon. All right, that's going to be your way to handle things. We'll see what Simmons does, how this plays out.
No mercy.
Well, it keeps looking like Tom Brady made the right decision to leave New England for Tampa. When asked if TB12 felt vindicated for leaving the Patriots, Tom Brady Sr. told Tom Curran, quote, damn right, and also added Belichick wanted him out the door, and last year he threw 56 touchdowns. I think that's a pretty good year. Senior Shannon, will Bill Belichick's decision to move on from Tom Brady go down as the biggest mistake in league history?
No, I don't think so, Ms. Skip, and I think there's a nuanced approach to this that we have to look at. Let's look at Tom Brady. Do you believe Coach Belichick could have surrounded him with what he has in Tampa? I don't. When Tom Brady's last year, you look at what he had to do, Skip. He had to overpay for 2 wide receivers, overpaid for 2 tight ends. And even though he overpaid, they still don't have the level of talent that Tom has in Tampa.
I mean, after Tom was gone.
After Tom was gone. Mm-hmm. Coach Belichick was looking at it from this perspective, Skip. This is what I have. I have an aging quarterback. Remember, Skip, he had a Julian Edelman who's on his last leg, so after he retired. That's how banged up he was. So that's what Tom Brady would have been throwing to. Mm-hmm. He had Jacoby Myers, who they converted from a quarterback to wide receivers. They had a N'Keal Harry, who hasn't panned out to this point just yet And I don't see how much longer I don't see if he's there very much longer. Maybe this year, but probably next year, Skip, he's going to be out. They took 2 tight ends. Neither of them panned out. They ended up going to free agency getting Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. Yep. They had to overpay for those guys. They had overpay for, they got the kid from Nelson Aguilar, and I think they got a kid from San Francisco overpaid for. None of those guys are better than Chris Godwin. None of those guys are better than Mike Evans. None of those guys are better than Antonio Brown. None of those tight ends are better than Gronk or better than a Cameron Brate. So in other words, Skip, Coach...
Or O.J. Howard.
So, Skip, when you look at it, I get it. Yep. Tom Brady should feel vindicated because he left a situation where the cupboard was bare and goes to a store where the cupboard is stocked. As a matter of fact, it's overflowing. Skip, you also remember I tell you, when family members and close friends speak.
I was going to remind you of you saying that, right? They speak for the player.
They do, Skip. Yes. And that's why I say, hey, Mom, Liv, let it go. You not talking. So for me, Skip, look, I get it. I look at a mistake as something that the biggest mistake would have been the Colts selecting Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning.
Yep.
But Skip, if you tell me Coach Belichick was going to stock the cupboards and he let Tom Brady go, I would say, you know what, that was a huge mistake. But Coach Belichick is looking at it, looking at what do I have, looking at the way Tom Brady is playing, knowing that I can't get a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin. He had AB, but Mr. Kraft and something happened, and we got to get you. Because I believe even with just AB and Edelman, Tom was on pace to have a pretty good year, Skip. He just needed weapons. He's 44. He's not 30. So him just being able to just elevate everybody else, he needs a little help now. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't believe Coach Belichick was ever going to be able to provide that. And even when you look at the defense, Skip, they ain't got no Devin White. Hightower is good, but he ain't Devin White. And Levante David. And that defensive front with Shaq Barrett and JPP and Sue and Vita Vea, they weren't going to have that in New England. So I believe that's why Coach Belichick was so easily willing to move on, knowing that I can't give him what he wants. But Tom should feel vindicated. Mr. Brady Sr. should feel vindicated that, you know what, I wasn't washed up. All I needed was a little help that I wasn't going to get in New England.
Okay, I got you. Look, no matter how you want to couch it, or how you want to parse it, as you just did, this still already has gone down as the biggest mistake in NFL history. And I get all the nuances that you just showed, you detailed for us. And I agree with everything you just said. But big picture, you just pushed a quarterback out the door who immediately, even in the middle of a pandemic with no preseason, went to another franchise that had been woeful, had the worst all-time record in the history of sports as a franchise, known as the Succaneers. And he went and won the Super Bowl with that group. Again, the cupboard was not bare. It was actually loaded, but nobody could quite see it. Because Jameis was there, and Jameis was leading the NFL in turnovers, by far. Running away with what was it, 30 interceptions and 5 lost fumbles, 35 total turnovers. You just can't overcome that in the sport that you play. And that's why they went 7-9 the year before, and that's why they were camouflaged, just sitting there, hiding in plain sight. And the genius in that guy's head said, wait a second. I can go there? Really? I mean, I can just like walk out the back door in New England and just hop on a flight and I can go right down there and I got that at my fingertips? Yes, you do. Okay? So no matter how you slice and dice it, it still goes down as the biggest mistake ever because he went and won the Super Bowl in his first go-round with that franchise. So it makes you look all-time bad because you made an all-time mistake. But to your point, if Tom stays, it doesn't happen. Because maybe the bigger mistake was made by the owner, Robert Kraft, about 5 years earlier when he didn't sit back and have enough vision to see, I've got to take personnel out of Belichick's hands because slowly...
No, you can keep personnel, but I'm just going to take this personnel out of your hands.
Okay, but do you need a GM? Do you need a personnel director? Do you need a draft master? Do you need somebody to come in and acquire players and let Bill coach what gets acquired?
But Skip, most of the time, when you're dealing with a guy like Brady, in my being around the league and following the league closely, when it comes to guys like that, that's an owner and a quarterback dealing with each other. That's not the general manager.
Okay.
So when something needs to get done, a contract needs to get done, they would work that directly. Eddie DeBartolo is working directly with Joe Montana.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, what happened over the last 5 years in New England was,
you said for him to let
disaster.
it get the coverage, get that bit. Okay.
He let it happen. I'm not talking about the money.
Okay.
No, I'm not talking about contracts. I'm talking about acquiring players.
Right. He let it get...
The failure was that he kept saying, because he has no input into that.
Right.
And he keeps saying, we're getting a little worse, and then we're getting a little worse, and then we got a lot worse, and then we got a whole lot worse.
But see, here's the thing, though, Skip. Even though the talent was getting worse, Brady was still playing at such a level that he could elevate it, and you were winning Super Bowls. And so, Skip, you're blinded to the fact we just won another Super Bowl. But you look around like, well, damn, our talent is not nearly the level of what X is, but because Brady was at that level, but then the last couple of years, it had gotten so bad that even the great Tom Brady couldn't elevate it anymore.
Okay, but he knew that he could go show the Succaneers how to win.
Yes.
Like, what do we always talk about? My Dallas Cowboys. They just might be the most talented team on paper.
Right.
And then what happens? Well, they don't have him at the helm. They don't have him running the locker room. They don't have him as the ultimate final voice, of reason in the franchise.
Right, because it's a situation when a guy like that walks into the room, everybody gets quiet. What is he going to say? What does he want to say? What does he need to say? Because I'm all ears. He's instant credibility. Skip, this ain't if things go right, that's Tom Brady. He's walking in with six Super Bowls, all these MVPs. You know what he represents. You're looking around at the talent level. You're like, we went 7-9. We had a guy throw for 5,200 yards, yada, yada. Like, hold on. It was kind of like the situation when Peyton walked into the Broncos. Yes, Skip, they won the division. They were 8-8, but that's Peyton Manning. That's a whole different ball. That's Tom Brady. That ain't just some guy. That's the guy.
Okay, but at least those Broncos in 2011 had miraculously, thanks to Tim Tebow, won the division and won a home playoff game. So at least you had a little momentum going, right?
Right.
And am I going to argue Tebow versus Peyton? No Bronco, no Tebow diehard would have argued that.
And just like there ain't no arguing Jameis versus Tom Brady.
No.
And that's the thing, Skip. When you get that level of talent, they increased they're 7-9. They went 11-5. The Broncos went 13-3 from 8-8. You see that talent level, and Peyton's looking around like, okay, where can I go? They got nice offensive line. Ryan Clady at left tackle. They got Demarius Thomas, Eric Decker, Julius Thomas, no Sean Moreno.
Yeah. Wait, they got Von Miller. Oh, really?
Whoa, yeah, Chris Harris.
Oh, bingo.
Tom Brady's looking around like, okay, where can I go? Mike Evans made the Pro Bowl. Chris Godwin did too. O.J. Howard's a first-round draft pick. Man, look at those two linebackers. Devin White was defensive rookie of the year. Levante David.
Wait a minute. Shaq Barrett led the league in sacks the year before?
I played against Ndamukong Suh. I played against JPP in the Super Bowl.
Oh. Did you hear anybody in the media saying he's got to go to Tampa?
No,
Nobody said that. I didn't see it. You didn't see it. I never heard anybody else say it.
No.
Right?
No.
He saw it and he made it happen. And you will fight me on this. I do not believe any other quarterback alive could have gone there and done what he did in that pandemic year. I don't think Mahomes could have done it. Aaron could have done it. Name them. Name somebody. They couldn't have gone and pulled off what he pulled off in leadership, in stature, in magnitude of walking in and saying, I got this.
Well, you're going to have to run because eventually Bruce Arians conceded, like, okay, I need to do some motion. I need to not ask Tom to throw the ball down the field as much as what I'm asking my other quarterback. Skip, there's a reason why Carson Palmer led the league in interception. There's a reason why, if you look at his history, guys throw the ball down the field. And the more you throw it down the field, the more chances you give the other team to come down with it. So Tom's like, okay, give me a little motion. Let's shorten up some. Man, we got Chris Godwin.
Remember,
he's tremendous.
Everything changed in the bye week.
Yes.
And they had just lost 3 out of 4 games. And we're going to talk about this in a few minutes here on the show. One of those losses was at home on Monday night to these Rams. These Rams had a different quarterback. We'll talk about that. But I believe these Bucs had a different quarterback coming out of the bye because I believe he took it completely over and said, let me run it. Let me call it.
Let's just say for the sake of argument, Skip, Tom stays in New England. Do you believe they win the Super Bowl last year with him in New England?
I do not. The talent level was shockingly bad.
Right.
Where I just can't get out of my head that scene of him sitting on the bench against the Texans at Houston, just yelling down the bench, somebody's got to separate.
Right.
Because they were last in the league, Pro Football Focus said, in separation. Wide receivers' ability to actually get free of the man covering them. They were the worst.
Yes.
So he could not overcome that. That's not what he does. He's not Patrick Mahomes sort of throwing receivers open with a cannon.
And buying Skip. He can't buy time like those other, like some of these young guys, like a Kyler, Russell Wilson, some of these other guys. That's not what he does. He needs somebody, you just give him a half a step, he'll give you the full step. But Skip, maybe this is just wishful thinking, but maybe Coach Belichick says the only way I'm going to get Tom up out of here is let the talent level get so low, he ain't got no choice but to leave.
I do not disagree with that conspiracy theory. I believe as he approached age 70 that he finally said, you know what, I have earned the right to do it without him. And the only way I'm going to get rid of him is I got to get to the point where I can tell Robert Kraft, Look what's happened. We're strapped here. We need some money. We need to get his salary out. We need to get him out of here. We need to start fresh. Now, if you can go win this year's Super Bowl with Mac Jones, you'll start to level that playing field. But right now, it's going down as the biggest mistake in NFL history. And I appreciate what Mr. Brady Sr. said about this. Because you have to go back 5 years. The mistake started to get made by an owner who just sat back, as Nero did in Rome, and fiddled while Rome burned. And Rome was starting to burn 5 years ago because in the end, he just needed credible talent around. Credible. Just even mediocre. And I don't even think they were mediocre to the point where he said, I need to get up out of here. Thank you for letting me out. And again, Mr. Brady said, Tommy is extraordinarily appreciative of everything that happened during his New England career. Okay, that is true. He is. He loved it there.
What's not to be appreciative about? 6 Super Bowls, 20 years, all the MVPs, the friends.
And again, I think he appreciated playing with and for Belichick. I do, in the biggest picture and with and for Mr. Kraft. And yet, in the end, it all failed him. They did not live up to their end of the bargain. It was not winnable anymore, and that's their mistake.
But Skip, I told you when I think Seth Rickersham wrote that article.
He did.
And Mr. Kraft sided with Tom. I say, now the next time they come, I say, Skip, they're going to revisit this. I say, now the next time he's not going to side.
Because that was 2017.
That was 2017. Because Coach, that was the only time. I mean, and that's how it is, Skip. You sign 1,000 autographs, you don't sign 1,001, you're a jerk. And you're a terrible person. Mr. Kraft has sided with Coach Belichick all these times. It was the one time that he didn't. And he blew his stack. And I believe he's like, if this happens again, I'm gone. And Mr. Kraft sided with Coach Belichick.
He did.
And Tom ended up leaving. Which Tom, at the time, I'm sure Tom was like, man, after all I've done. But Tom don't realize they were doing him a favor. And they were giving him an opportunity. Just imagine, Skip, instead of giving him that $8 million bonus that make his salary at $23 million, imagine if they had tacked on 2 more years with the talent that he had. Tom would have been kicking himself like, man, I could have been in Tampa, or I could have been over here. Because any place is better than the offensive talent that I got over here.
Okay, bottom line. Do you think Tom Brady's dream was to end his career in New England?
1,000%.
1,000,000%.
Yes, absolutely.
This hurts him.
Yes.
But he also feels vindicated.
Right. He would, Skip, I believe Tom would rather win 8 one Super Bowl, 7 Super Bowls in New England, as opposed to win 6 and 2 someplace else. Because, Skip, to spend 20, however long he played, Skip, in one organization, which probably won't ever be done again at that position, just stay one place. And Coach Belichick says, nope, the talent had gotten so low, he forced him. Because, Skip, Gronk wasn't coming back. As much as he loved playing with Tommy, he wasn't coming back up there.
Not there. So, Coach Belichick, you're on the clock.
He on the clock. Mm-hmm. I think he realized that, too.
Happier than ever, that matters, too. Guys, we need to talk about Skip's team, the Cowboys. Micah Parsons continues to have a great start to his rookie campaign. Pro Football Focus just gave the linebacker the highest grade of any rookie so far this season. And after the Cowboys saw cornerbacks J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain go ahead of them in the draft, they traded down 2 spots to draft Parsons. Jerry Jones went on the record this week that the linebacker was the highest-rated defensive player on the team's draft board. So, Shannon, do you believe that he was the Cowboys' highest-rated defensive player?
Yeah, look, no. I believe that they had, I think universally on everybody's board, J.C. Horn, Pat Surtain, Micah Parsons. It seems to me those were the 3 top-rated defensive players on everybody's board. Now, if you thought so highly of him, I think it made it very easy. Because guess what? J.C. Horn comes up the board. Now Pat Surtain comes up the board at number 9. So now, Skip, if you thought so highly of him, why wouldn't you just stay Pat? You trade back. Somebody zooms up to number 11. They could have easily zoomed up to number 11 to get Micah Parsons. It just so happens the Bears zoom up to number 11 to take Justin Fields. And now the guy's sitting right there in your lap. See, Jerry likes playing this revisionist history. Skip, remember Paxton Lynch? He wanted Paxton Lynch so bad. And he wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire so bad. It's easy to say these things now, Skip. This guy right here and that guy, all that. I believe if Dallas Cowboys would stay where they were and one of those cornerbacks were available, I believe they would have taken one of those cornerbacks, either J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain. That's what I believe. And because they were the 3 highest-rated defensive players, 2 of the 3 was gone, it's a natural. So now, Skip, you got no choice. You're not going to take a quarterback. You're not going to take an offensive lineman. You're not going to take a running back. So what do we need? We could use some speed on the defense at the linebacker position. Wolf Hunter, he's getting injured a bunch. And
Jalen Smith
and Jalen Smith, he doesn't have the speed that he once had. So it was a no-brainer at that point, Skip. But I just think the thing is, Jerry likes to we had this guy and we targeted this guy the whole time. No, you didn't, Jerry. Jerry, you got a lot of breaks. Because anytime that you move down, somebody run. Just like Patrick, everybody we like Patrick Mahomes, but we liked him at 15. Andy Reid was at 27 and liked him at 10. So he moved all the way up the board to go take him. That's when you know somebody takes him. Because if you thought he was that good, Skip, guess what you do? You said that 11? I think they were number 11. You move up. Move up to 6. Move up to 7. If you believe, because that's what Skip Bayless tells me. Skip Bayless said, if you believe a guy is that good, you move to get him. Dallas just stood back. Not only did they stand pat, Skip, they moved back and got a 3rd rounder from Philly on top of it.
They did.
When is the last time you saw somebody trade with somebody in their own division?
It's happened a couple times.
I ain't helping you.
You got to trust. You got to trust.
You trust the Eagles?
Well, you got to trust that they're going to take who they say they're going to take. And as long as they say it's Devontae Smith and not Micah Parsons, we're good, okay? Because now Howie Roseman's reputation is on the table.
He already got a shiesty reputation, Skip. So what did if he flim-flam the Cowboys?
Well, that would have been the all-time flim-flam.
Well, the Seattle did it to him, Jerry. We got a deal. Now that you mentioned it, Jerry.
It wasn't in the draft. It was over Earl Thomas. Okay, first of all, I've got to comment on what delicious irony I'm seeing in this development, because my man, the Hall of Famer across from me, said before the draft, best defensive player on anybody's board should be Micah Parsons.
It wasn't even close to me, though, Skip.
Who opted out his final year at Penn State, so we did not get to see him for a while, out of sight, a little bit out of mind. I only knew him in flashes and bursts from the previous season. And I liked what I saw. And I did not argue with you over he just might be have the highest potential of anybody on the board. But I told you I need a cornerback. Jerry Jones decided we need a cornerback. So I was fine with, and I'm going to remind you that you had issues with what had happened in the previous draft because they did not need CeeDee Lamb. Right?
Yes.
It was the classic, he's the highest player by far left on our board because they had CeeDee Lamb 6th on their board. And all of a sudden, they're sitting at 17 and he's falling and he's falling and he's falling. And all of a sudden, the Falcons take that A.J. Terrell, the kid out of Clemson, the cornerback who got just annihilated in the championship game.
Both of those receivers, Justin Jefferson and Chase took turns.
Yeah. Okay. So all of a sudden, they go cornerback.
Yes. And
Jerry's saying, time out. He said even his grandson, he's on the yacht, in the pandemic, even his grandson's CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
And Jerry's saying, wait a second. I could have a guy who's 6th on our board and we can get him at 17. And you took issue with it and I did not because I said he's too good to pass up at 17. He is not a need pick. He's a value pick.
But what happened, Skip? What is this? What is Jerry? Jerry realized I had a chance to get Randy Moss. And I passed on him, and I took Greg Ellis.
Right.
So he's
and by the way, I took issue with that before, when that happened. I said before the draft, they have to. I was actually writing in Chicago at that point. And I said the Bears have to take him first. But Dallas, if that doesn't happen, Dallas has to take him. And everybody just said, no. Too much trouble, too much this, too much off the field.
Imagine him and Michael Irvin.
Oh, my God. Well, and you know what he did to Jerry on Thanksgiving Day as a rookie? He said, watch this.
$163 and 3 touchdowns.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now back to Micah Parsons. I do believe that they did have him ranked the highest on their board, but they were going this year, to your point of a year ago, they're going classically for need.
Right.
We need a cornerback.
Correct.
So I was all about Patrick Surtain Jr. because I love Senior.
Right.
And I thought Senior had taught Junior exactly all the golden rules of playing cornerback. I thought he was a 10 or 12-year perennial Pro Bowler.
Yes.
And he well might be for your Broncos.
Right.
Some people love J.C. Horn. I think Carolina's loving him as we speak. And by the way, all of a sudden, Carolina looks way better than I thought.
Yes.
And now Dallas, we're going to see Carolina tomorrow night. Dallas may be dealing with a 3-0 Carolina the following game after the Monday nighter, where you'll have a shorter week to get ready for a home game against Carolina that I chalked up as a big dub, but it might be a little dicey.
It might be a little dicey.
Okay, and J.C. Horn, I got it. But he's ranked down the list so far in grades, while Micah is number 1 in the NFL in rookie grades over the first 2 games. Small sample size, but pretty significant.
But he's been impressive.
He has been impressive. Okay, so what do? Maybe they like J.C. Horn. I don't know. But what happened? Well, you know what happened. J.C. Horn goes 8th to Carolina. He's off the board. And then your team stunned me because I thought your team just would take a quarterback. Right? Because guess who's still sitting there? Well, Mac Jones is still sitting there. Justin Fields is still sitting there. And they took Patrick Surtain, and I fell off my chair, and I rolled on the floor in agony because I said, you took our guy. Now what, Jerry?
Right.
Well, now what? He says, and this is dicey, but he says, I got an offer here to trade back 2 slots to go to 12 with the Eagles, who promised me, who vowed to me they only want Devontae Smith.
Right.
A receiver that they needed, obviously. And he's saying, okay, but I don't know exactly about the timing of, so what about the Giants at 11? They're sitting there, your other division rivals sitting there 1 pick after you at 11. Well, they could have sat right there if they had chosen to, and guess who they could have taken? Micah Parsons.
Correct.
Instead, they got a first-rounder in 22, as well as a couple other smaller picks, like 5th-rounder type picks, to go all the way back to, where'd they go back to? They took Kadarius Toney. So my point is they went back into the 20s. Right? Yeah, they went to 20th. So the Bears went from 20 up to 11 because they wanted Justin Fields.
Right.
Well, I don't know if Jerry had the reconnaissance on that, the intel on that. I'm not sure about how it all played out, but you're risking that the Giants would suddenly sit pat and say, we want Micah Parsons.
Right.
Would he have helped them? You better believe it.
Absolutely. Skip, I think once you get past the top 5, everything is in flux. Skip, the only way we can definitively know this is that if all 3 guys are on the board, when the Cowboys select, they select Micah Parsons. It's easy to say, well, he was the number one guy on our board. But the two other top-rated guys that was on everyone's board, Skip, are already gone. So you can't select them. So, yeah, he was the highest-rated guy on our board. No, he was the highest-rated defensive guy you had left on your board.
Okay, so did the Giants screw it up?
Probably.
Because they could have had Micah Parsons.
Right.
Instead, they took a fifth-rounder this year.
Right.
A first-rounder next year and a fourth-rounder next year to move back 9 slots.
Right.
And they take Kadarius Toney, who so far has caught 2 balls for -2 yards.
Right.
Maybe that will change because he is lightning fast.
Right.
But my point is, so far, not so good.
But here's the thing, Skip. When you take a guy like that, when you move around like that, you better have a guy that has an idea of a way to use a Kadarius Toney. When you think about Jason Garrett, that's not his offense. He's never had a guy like that he could use in that manner. So you're asking someone that has a conventional way of thinking of doing offense to try to think outside of the box when you've never been asked to think outside of the box. So the Giants maybe have been better to stand pat and maybe get the next comparable LT. Say, could he be a guy? Not LT now. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
you know what LT was.
I do.
But I'm saying, you're talking about a guy that can not only rush the passer, that can drop in coverage, that's sudden, that can come downhill and thump. So maybe they would have been better off standing pat. But the Cowboys are glad they didn't. Not only did we get a get a third rounder, Skip, we good. We got a third rounder, and we still got what was going to look like to be the defensive rookie of the year.
You got it. So sometimes the best draft moves are the ones you didn't mean to make.
Exactly.
Am I right?
Exactly.
So is it possible that God is now back to being a Cowboy fan? I don't know.
We'll see come playoff time. And you're like, God, you did it again. Yep.
You think that's going to happen? I don't. I got such a good
first of all, you're right. That's not going to happen because y'all not going to make it.
You were in so much trouble. And now it's become blasphemy for you to say that because God is on my side, right?
Heineke. Rise with Meineke.
Heineke. You have bet 10 cases of Diet Dew on Taylor Heineke.
Taylor.
Really?
Yeah, OTH.
You were betting it on Jalen Hurts. Now you're hurt by Hurts. You're done with that. And for a while, you were even betting it on Daniel Jones, and you know the end of that.
He might do something bad. As a matter of fact, he might do something bad to you on Monday night.
Really?
He might. He just might.
He might.
He's comparable. He's close now.
I'm feeling so comfortable over here.
You can get prayers in to God about the Cowboys every night. Please, please. A different God. All right, well, maybe he'll listen. I don't know. I don't mess with God. We'll have to see how that plays out.
No mercy.
Russell Westbrook hasn't been known for having the best jump shot, but that could be changing, guys. A social media video was posted of Westbrook draining three-pointers and working on his mid-range game ahead of his first season with LeBron and the Lakers. Skip, question for you. Will Russ's shooting improve this season?
You saw it.
Shannon Sharp.
You saw that.
He's working on it.
I am sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings.
No, you're not.
But I actually laughed out loud when I saw this video last night. I am not overstating this when I say that over his 13 seasons in the National Basketball Association, Russell Westbrook has proven to be the worst superstar jump shooter in the history of pro basketball. The worst. He is an abysmal, high-volume three-point shooter. Yeah. And as the old saying goes, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I will be the first to admit, I do like the new form in this video because it's a lower launch point. He's getting it down in here where he can get a little more control of it and get a little more power behind the shot. It's more of a shot-put shot, if you will. His usual release is much higher and wilder and harder to control and be consistent with. But just to nail this down for you, since Russell Westbrook entered this league, of the 246 players, that's a lot of players, 246 who have averaged at least 3 3-point shots per game, Russell is third worst over that 13-year span. Third worst behind Josh Jackson and Baron Davis, believe it or not. And yet Russell is viewed as a superstar, a perennial all-star, obviously, a man who in 4 of the last 5 years has averaged a triple-double, which is impossibly great. But when it comes to shooting, he is impossibly bad. And I will hand the ball off to you in just a moment. I conclude my case against Russ by saying, you realize that the shooting demons finally infiltrated his free throw shooting over the last 3 years, because for his first 10 years, he averaged 81% from the free throw line, which will work, as you know. One year in 2017, he hit a crescendo. He made 85% of his free throws in just 2017. I don't know what happened. The demons got a hold of his subconscious, not Ben Simmons like, but we're heading in that direction to where over the last 3 years, 2 of them were 66%, including last year, right. And one, well, let's just do the average of the 3. So he's 69%. So he's 81% for his first 10 years from the free throw line, 69%. That's LeBron-esque for the last 3 years. So he's even crumbling at the free throw line. And I believe all of that is unfixable, because when you get in the heat of battle, you will just revert to what you know, which is wild, high, three-point shooting.
Skip, it's hard for me to disagree with anything that you just said, but all I can ask a guy to do is to work on the things in the offseason that he feels he needs to improve upon to get better. Russ feels that he needs to his shot. I think a lot of this has to do with shot selection. When you're coming down on the fast break, Skip, how about you not pull up with a 30-foot three? How about do
Fair.
that?
Yeah. It's hard to practice that. You have to learn that. You have to sort of convince yourself, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right. And so, Skip, if we get better technique, that's a lot of that has to do with, if you look at the way Klay Thompson, now, he's never going to be one of those shooters. We're not going to ask him to be, Skip, and he's not a very good three-point shooter. But can we get him to 35%? That's all. Skip, I'm just saying, we don't need you 42%. But we can't have you at 26% like you were in Houston. We can't have you at 29% or 30%. Can we just get you to 35? And I think a lot of that has to do with shot selection. I also believe playing alongside AD, playing alongside LeBron James will help him take better shots. He'll get better opportunities because they double down on LeBron. Now you get an opportunity to cut to the basket, lay the ball up. They double down AD. Now he's going to have to knock down some of these wide open shots, Skip. He's going to get a lot of opportunities.
He's going to get a whole bunch of because they will dare him.
Yes. And that's something that, hey, he's working on. Skip, at the end of the day, that's all you can ask. Is the guy working in the offseason? Some of the questions that we've asked about Ben Simmons, is he really working on that jump shot? Or is he just telling us he's working because come games, we don't never see him even attempt it? At least we know Russ is in the gym. He's working on it.
What has he done for the last 13 off seasons? Has he worked on it?
No, I believe, Skip, if he takes better shot selections, I believe that has a lot. Skip, you don't always, even if you're not pulling up with a three, Skip, trying to pull up a 3-on-1 fast break and you try to kiss the ball off the backboard, that's not a high percentage shot. If we just try to increase, get a little closer to the backboard, the jump shots will be there. We can always get a 30-foot three, Skip, but how about take a 15-foot shot? How about try to get all the way to the basket and maybe get fouled or dish it off? So I think a lot of that has to do with that. Better shot selection, and just it's like, you know what? Now is not the time for me to do that. But I love what I'm seeing. I love the guy that's in the gym, working on his craft, trying to get better, trying to improve. We're not trying to teach an old dog new trick. We're trying to teach an old dog to improve on the tricks he already knows.
Okay. So this old dog has averaged 31% from the three-point line over 13 years. But he actually, maybe he worked the previous offseason, he was actually a tick better than 31. He was 32% in Washington last year. Guess where that ranked? That was 150th of 156 qualified three-point shooters. 150 of 156. It's bottom of the barrel.
We just trying to get him to 35, 36%.
If you could, it would be gold as in Fort Knox gold. As in bubble championship gold.
It'd be the championship gold. As in gold championship.
Okay. Here's why he will not work. He will not fit. This is why he will drive LeBron James' highest basketball IQ in the game out of his mind, out of his basketball mind. 4 times he has led the league in turnovers, and 4 other times he's been second in turnovers. That's 8 out of 13 years. So what makes him Russ? What makes him go? Why is he must-see TV for me? I don't miss a Russ game because he is he is like a roller coaster ride of he's going to get a triple-double. He's going to average double-digit rebounds at 6'3".
I don't believe he does that this year.
Okay, well, maybe not. I don't even know how he averages 10-plus assists. He's led the league in assists. He led it last year in assists. They're weird assists because they're not LeBron-esque where you say, oh, what a sweet pass that was.
Right.
He doesn't do that. He drives it like no one's ever driven it at 6'3". He is the most athletic point guard we've ever seen, and I know Derrick Rose is in that debate conversation. He's right there, right? He's right there. But Russ is at the peak. He's the epitome of the athletic point guard. So he can't really shoot a lick from three, or even mid-range twos are scary, bad, inconsistent. But he can get to the rim.
Right.
He might hurt you at the free throw line here in the last 3 years, but he can get to the rim.
Get y'all in foul trouble.
Okay.
And then that LeBron and AD be at the foul line.
He can get you in foul trouble. He learned about 5 years ago that if he gets to the rim and draws two people and two arms extended, if you just drop it on the floor for Steven Adams, he's going to dunk it, and you're going to get in the assist column, you get another big one, right? So his assists are either dump-offs or pass out of the lane assists where he just whips it out to the perimeter, right?
Can I ask you this? What impact do you believe playing alongside AD and LeBron will have on Russ?
I think LeBron will have tremendous impact for a while through the regular season. Where he really reverts is in the playoffs. What has he been with no KD? Without KD in the playoffs, Russ is 8-21. Well, you can say, well, he didn't have Kevin Durant, the best player on the planet. But that's the point. So will that go up? Will his playoff percentages go up just because he's playing alongside LeBron?
Yes.
Or will LeBron try to win in spite of Russ and not be able to overcome him? Because that's what's going to happen to me.
The thing that upsets you most about LeBron is that he, instead of taking the game over like a Jordan or Kobe, he always tries to ingratiate everybody else. So he's not going to try to win.
How do you ingratiate a guy who can't shoot?
Easy. Get him layups. That's what we do. Hey, we just if he can't shoot threes, we get him closer to the basket. He can't shoot 15-footers, we get him layups and dunks. That's what we do, Skip.
4 times he's led this league in usage rate, how much he has the ball in his hand, and 4 other times he was second in usage rate. Do you think he's going to be happy to see the ball again and again in LeBron's hands?
At the end of the day, Skip, a lot of times we overlook and not see the value because we're so caught up in telling what someone can't do instead of finding out what he can do well, and let's play to his strength. Let's stay in that wheelhouse right there.
Your wheelhouse would be having Rajon Rondo at the point guard,
Rondo is
LeBron at the 2,
Rondo,
and AD at the 4 or 5.
Skip.
That's your wheelhouse.
Skip, when was the last time you saw a guy not start for 4 or 5 years and all of a sudden become a starter again?
I'm just telling you that would work for you.
But you told me what was working when they got playoff Rondo, the Clippers.
Well,
that
I thought it
work.
would. Okay, but they're a different bunch with different mentality, and once you challenge and humiliate Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi humiliated him, coming in that man's face after he had just come off winning a title. Made you a great pass, and you are going to talk about what's wrong with that bad pass.
Do you think the first time LeBron gags a last-second shot, which will happen, do you think Rondo will get up in his face and say, what are you doing? You're better than that?
No. That's not what Rondo. He sought Rondo out. Rondo was, pass the ball. Kawhi sought him out. He's like, I saw LeBron hit many of those. Which he has.
You could have Buddy Hield at the 2 and Rondo at the 1. And then LeBron could go ahead and play the whatever he wants to play, 4 he's talking about. No. Then you'd be loaded. Then you'd be championship bound.
We're loaded now. We're championship bound now.
You're loaded with a gun that's going to blow up in your face.
Okay. Well, guess what? It's going to be us in the nest. That's what you want to see. That's what I want to see.
I do want to see that. And you're not going to get home.
We're getting home.
Kawhi's coming back before you know.
First of all, Skip, let that go. Let that go. That's over. Kawhi, they're shooting videos. All he want to do is be in Drake's video. Yeah, that's all he wants to do.
He's kind of coming out like Brady is, where he's starting to flaunt.
That's all he wants to do.
Yeah.
In all white.
He's starting to show out a little bit.
No, he's not.
I don't know if that appearance in the music video.
Yeah, you saw that, Jenny? That's all he wants to do?
It wasn't that impressive. I don't know. No, I'm being mean. That's not very nice. I just want to hear more from him. Quiet. I just want to get to know him better. And I've liked getting to know Tom
enough about him
over the last couple of years.
He slept at that ceremony the other day.
Yeah, you saw that?
It was the band. The band put anybody to sleep.
It's hard. I totally get it sometimes.
No mercy.
Despite Tom Brady and the Buccaneers starting out 2-0, Tampa initially were slight underdogs against the Rams, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. That has since greatly changed as the line swung all the way to the Bucs being favored by 2.5 points, but now has settled at 1.5 points in LA this weekend. So, Shannon, we know you already like the Rams this week. So how much does this scare you, the change here?
It doesn't scare me at all, because that doesn't mean anything to me, Skip. You still have to play the ball game. You understand that. This is for Vegas. These are for the bettors. So since I'm not a betting, I just bet you do, which I'm going to win this week.
Well, that would be an upset.
Well, it just might be. But look, I'm not surprised, because people are going to bet on Brady and the Bucs, just like people bet on the Cowboys. Unfortunately, like when they bet on Brady, they win. Bet on your team, they lose. But with that being said, Skip, the Bucs offense has looked really good. But for whatever reason, the defense hasn't looked the same. They have the third worst pass defense in all of football, giving up 342 pass yards per game. That's not good. And so, Skip, I know the conventional wisdom is, and everybody says, oh, they're going to be so much better. But you're under the premise, while you're getting better, nobody else is going to get better. Oh, all you heard is about, Tom Brady, the offense is going to look so much better. That defense is going to be so much better. Other teams get to practice and get better also. But having been around a historically great defense, Skip, and I was, the 2000 Ravens, you saw it live up close in person. I got an opportunity to see it every day and practice against it. They weren't the same when they came back in 2001, Skip.
Yep.
You look at the 02 Bucs. They weren't the same when they came back in 03, Skip. No. You look at the Broncos, and for the most part, they brought a lot of those pieces back in 15 to 16.
You have made the point, though, the 85 Bears were.
The 85 Bears were better than...
Yeah.
But that's the anomaly, Skip.
It was.
For the most part, you take a step back.
Yep.
The offense has looked sensational. My only question is that defense, and that was a little concern of yours last year until they kicked it into high gear. When they got like the last 6 or 7 games heading into the playoffs, they were phenomenal. They took the ball away. When teams got into the red zone, they held them out. They don't seem to be, they're not playing it with the same ferocity. For whatever the case may be. But for me, Skip, it hasn't changed my view of what I think is going to happen in this ball game. This is the reason they shipped Jared Goff and those first-round picks, along with Michael Brockers, to Detroit to get Matthew Stafford.
They did. Sean
McVay believes now his entire playbook is at his disposal. There's not a blade of grass on the field that he has to coach against. He can, call a play, and knowing that guy can throw the ball there. He's great outside the pocket. He can change platforms and throw the ball from different arm slots, Skip. He's good. He said that he wanted to play in big games. This is the first of many what he hopes and Rams fans hope will be to come.
Okay.
So he gets an opportunity to test this thing out early on against that guy on the left,
that
Tom Brady. And so I like it. And Aaron Donald going to eat.
Is he? What
What
you got, 3 sacks maybe?
Just 2 in a rough up.
Really? 2 in a rough up. I'll take 2 cases that he won't have 2 sacks.
Nope.
Got you again.
They're going to have 2 sacks. Or I bet you they have 2 sacks as a team.
They well might have, because that's just who they are and what they do.
They get as a quarterback.
Okay, my turn, and I'm about to tell you why you're going to be wrong and why I like the Buccaneers Sunday at Rams. I'm not going to go to love them, but I do like them.
You give me the 1.5?
We'll get to that on Friday.
Okay.
But here's the point. The point is that back on November 23rd, at Tampa on Monday Night Football, the Rams had their way with this Buccaneers defense. It's pretty much the same as it was a year ago. The personnel's all pretty much the same, right?
Yep.
They just about ran them off their own field. The final score was closer than the game felt to me. It was 27-24. But Jared Goff, of all quarterbacks.
376, didn't he?
376 and 3 tubs and 1 pick, but he had a QBR of 80, which is very high, scale of 0 to 100. 80. Brady had a long, tough night against that defense, 26 of 48 for 216, 2 touchdowns, but 2 picks and a QBR of 49, which is a tick below
average,
which is 50. So that was not Brady-esque that night because the Rams defense did a number on him. The point is that from that night, they were in the midst of losing 3 out of 4 games because they had just lost at home on a Sunday night to New Orleans 38-3. And you came in and threw a party in here the next day on Monday morning. Am I right?
I did.
You said that is the Wicked Witch is dead. Long live the Wicked Witch. Ding dong. Isn't that what you said? He's done. He's dead. He's over. He's defunct. He's kaput. And then they turn right around and lose at home to Jared Goff, who just has their way. The yards in that game were 413 for Sean McVay and 251 for Brady. 413 to 251. And you're saying, well, that was a mismatch almost equivalent to the Saints game.
Right.
And then here comes my homeboy on the road, and the game felt like it was over after a quarter.
Yep.
What did Tyreek have in the first quarter? I can't even remember the numbers. They were like ridiculous numbers. But here came Brady, and he sort of slowly but surely scratched and clawed his way back into that game, and they lost that 27-24. Here's where you're in trouble. Then came a bye week in which everything changed. A high-placed Tampa Bay source has even told me in the last couple of weeks that they felt like Tom took over the offense in the bye week.
Yeah.
As you've pointed out, I need some motion. I need some screen passes, which Bruce Arians not a screener.
Right.
And I need a little more control at the line of scrimmage. I need to call some audibles.
Right.
So some check with me's, and all of a sudden that offense started to look a little bit more like New England-esque. As I said, Tampa Bay, it's the Patriot way in Tampa Bay, and he started to instill and inspire the Patriot way on offense, which it got to be a little more dink and dunk as they took off.
Right.
What has happened since that bye week?
Oh, they look really good.
Well, they've looked good because they've won 10 straight games. They are 10-0 since that bye week, including 4 playoff wins and then 2 this year. So now they go back to get a little revenge against the Rams. So you say defensively, have they played with that furor and terror that they instilled last year in the playoffs? They have not.
Right.
So my Cowboys were able to score 29 on them. I think my Cowboy offense is pretty explosive.
Right.
And yet, all of a sudden, Matt Ryan threw them back. The Falcons got back in the game. Remember, they cut it to 28-25.
Yes.
And then a classic strategic move was made by one Todd Bowles, who I still think is the best defensive coordinator in football. What did he do in the fourth quarter of that game that went little noticed? He put Mike Edwards, his backup safety, who had started the opener against Dallas because Whitehead was out. Whitehead came back, and all of a sudden he said, Mike Edwards is such a good player, I'm going to put him in as my nickel back in place of Sean Murphy-Bunting, who's gone for about, half the year probably with a dislocated elbow, which you said you did.
I missed a month.
Missed a month, so I don't know. But Sean Murphy-Bunting has been so good in training camp that he replaced Jamel Dean in the starting lineup at corner, but he's definitely the nickel corner.
Right.
So Jamel Dean's back, and he could be a weak link because McVay's going to go after him, and Matt Stafford's going to go after him. Mike Edwards all of a sudden gets thrown into the game in the fourth quarter against Matt Ryan, once upon a time MVP of this league. And what happened? What did Mike Edwards do in the fourth quarter as the nickel back?
Pick 16 both times.
There's the first one. That'll work. That looked pretty good to me. And he can move for a safety. And then the other one, he just happened to be in the right place at the very right time, and he's off to the races again. That's 2 pick sixes in the fourth quarter, which is, as you know, very, very rare. Okay? So I think you're going to see a whole lot of Mike Edwards playing 80% of the snaps.
Well, I hope he's playing Cooper Kupp. Because right now, Cooper
Kupp is unstoppable.
Because Skip, you remember last year on that Monday night game when he was just those.
He had 11 for 145 in that game. We're talking about a third-round pick out of Eastern Washington. Grew up in Yakima, Washington. Really?
Yeah.
And Matt Stafford is loving him even more than Jared Goff loves him.
Yes.
Because he is killing
Robert Woods, and they still haven't.
By the way, Robert Woods in the Monday night last year had 12 for 130. They just destroyed that secondary.
And the thing, because a lot of this stuff is quick, Skip, so that's why it works, because they don't give you an opportunity, Skip, to bring pressure, because they're not looking to throw the ball down the field.
Yep.
They're looking to get the ball in Cup, Robert Woods' hand, and let them do damage after the catch.
Okay.
Now, let's see if he can get D-Jack involved. D-Jack hadn't had the explosive plays that we know he's capable of. Because, Skip, he can still run.
I agree.
He can still run.
Very dangerous. And he can catch it over his head.
Yes.
He's one of the best finders of the deep ball I've ever seen, as far as running under it and catching it over his head.
And you know there ain't no love lost between J. Ram and Mike Evans.
Nope. I agree. We got some bad blood here.
Yeah.
We got Brady wanting a little revenge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Over
Matthew
that
Stafford
Rams
said, I want big
defense.
games.
Yep.
They brought me here to play in big games. This is a big game.
Okay, so I've told you from the start, I've predicted that Tom Brady has his eye on doing something never done before, 20-0. That's what, and this is going to be the toughest test on the schedule.
It's over.
It's over?
Yep.
Okay, and then they go to Foxborough.
Yeah.
And that's really over. So you have bet me 10 cases to 4 cases that they will win both of these games, that my team will lose both of these games, or at least my quarterback will lose both of these games. So I'm going to remind you that you have now bet against Tom Brady once again, and you're betting for a Matthew Stafford who has never been on this stage with this kind of magnitude. So is he that guy? Was he ever that guy in Detroit where he went 0-3 in playoff games? Has he ever known this kind of focus and pressure? I got the arm. In fact, Bruce Arians said fairly recently that one guy he goes out and warm-ups to watch is Matthew Stafford, because he can flat spin it.
He can.
He's got the kind of arm. He's got Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers' arm, and can throw it anyway. And now McVay's got him doing the bootlegs where they do that deep arc rollout where you're just running as fast as you can. Then you stop and you plant and you arm talent all the way back across the field.
I may have seen that a couple of times before in my life.
Have you?
He's just running the West Coast offense.
So I'm going to bet against Matt Stafford in this game.
Do it, Skip.
Yep.
This is the one time.
This is it?
This is it.
He emerges finally?
Yeah.
As he's that guy?
He that guy.
Is he that guy?
Yep.
I can see it in your face. You're not sure.
I can see 400.
Really?
I can see him throw. If Dak got 403, he better than Dak.
Devin White, he just predicted 400. Are you going to take that?
Hold on.
Lying down?
Skip, Dak threw for 403.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Dak.
Matt Ryan had almost 300.
Okay, here we go. I think that defense is about to re-emerge.
You think so?
All over your guy, Matt Stafford.
Okay. They're going to have to, Skip.
Matt Stafford ever won big games? Did he win at Georgia? Did he have a big game? I'm saying no, he didn't win a big game.
Never won the SEC.
Interesting.
Even though he had A.J. Green and Sean Marino.
No. All those guys.
Yeah, they loaded.
Expectations for this
I
one.
don't know.
But guess what?
Hold on. I'm kind of liking my position.
Hold on. I don't remember seeing Brady with a rose in his mouth. Did he ever go to the Rose Bowl?
No, he went to the Orange Bowl.
Orange
See the big orange in his mouth?
He
destroyed Alabama.
He didn't destroy that Mr. PAT. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
No mercy. According to reports, Ben Simmons has played his last game in a Sixer uniform. The star guard has informed the team he will not report to the start of training camp and will never play another game for the 76ers. First things first, co-host Chris Broussard joining us now. Chris, I'm hoping you got the latest. How soon will Simmons be traded, if at all?
Well, let me start with this, Jen. I do think this is the right stance, this hardcore stance for Ben Simmons and his representation to take if they want to get out of Philly. Like, if you're adamant about leaving someplace, we saw with James Harden last year that being Mr. Nice Guy doesn't necessarily work. Remember, Harden was like, look, I'm gonna play, but we'll be working on a trade while I'm playing. First 3 games, he's James Harden, 37 points, 11 assists a game. And they're like taking their time trading him, thinking, okay, he's playing nice, we're cool. And so then he goes comatose for 5 games and plays well below his normal level. And that's when a trade was immediately done. So I think they're taking a page out of that book saying, hey, if we just show up, play, Ben is looking good, the team's looking good, they probably won't trade you. Now, that said, I think Philly's going to match hardball with hardball of their own. And I think this is now a major league game of chicken. because I think what Philly's going to do is I don't think they're going to trade him immediately. I don't think they're going to trade him before training camp, unless they suddenly get a deal that they feel is equitable. But I don't think they're going to trade him just to get rid of the problem. I think they enter the season, Ben is probably on the sidelines, not with the team, and they wait to see what happens with Portland. How do things start with them? Because if it starts badly, maybe all of a sudden Damian Lillard's available. What happens with Washington? They made all these moves in the offseason, but if it starts badly, maybe Bradley Beal's available. Golden State. All right, what if they aren't as good early as they think they'll be? Then maybe they're willing to up the ante and make a better offer for Ben Simmons, not to mention other teams around the league. So I think that is the approach that Philadelphia will take. I also think, and look, they're hoping to get, they think they can still get Ben in training camp and have him play with the team. But I think it'll be interesting if, let's say, Ben's on the sidelines, and let's say Philly starts well. Because they still have Joel Embiid, they still have Tobias Harris, Seth Curry came on in the playoffs. Like, they still have some good players. So what if they're really rolling, really playing well? Does that put the pressure on Ben Simmons, and does he start getting antsy and saying, man, let me get back out here and let's see how things can work out? You know, so bottom line answer to the question, Jen, I think it's going to be a while before he gets traded. And both sides are saying they're willing to sit this out for the long haul and see what happens.
I think we all knew after what Doc Rivers said and what Joel Embiid said after that Game 7 loss to the Atlanta Hawks, we all kind of said that we felt it was going this way, because I don't believe you can have a head coach when a reporter asks you, do you believe you can win a championship with Ben as your primary point guard? And you said, I don't know if I can answer that right now. We'll have to see. And Joel Embiid said what he said, that he felt the game swung when we had a layup and we ended up getting a free throw. I was like, it's over. It's over. Doc Rivers has been a head coach entirely too long. Situations like that, you always do the PC, give it coach speak. Oh, look, Ben didn't play as well. None of us played as well as we would have liked to have played. Ben will be just fine. Ben will get back in the gym, do what he needs to do. That's what you say, even though you're like, man, no, deep down inside, no, I don't believe we can. But you don't say that publicly. Once he aired that publicly, it was over. Now, when we look at it, I believe the Sixers are willing to let Ben Simmons take the bad PR hit on this. Chris, I believe over the last several years, we keep hearing Ben Simmons could possibly be traded. Whose team is it, this or that? Ben Simmons believed that you've hitched your wagon to Joel Embiid. You made it abundantly clear to me and all the other people around me and around the league that this is Joel Embiid's team and I'm expendable. Well, since you feel that way, go ahead and expend me. Why am I here? So that's where I am. Now, I wish he would show up. I'm a firm believer, Chris, you know this. I'm a firm believer in being professional. But I'm going to let it be known. Doc, I didn't appreciate what you said, but I'm going to do what you asked me to do. Joel Embiid, don't speak to me. Daryl Morey, you need to get me up out of here. And I'm practicing, Chris, I'm practicing every day in my jersey and jock until they get me up out of there. That's how I'm going to do it.
You want to respond, Chris?
But it's interesting. The question, I just wanted to throw this at you, Shannon. What about what I said? Like, I think that was James Harden's approach.
Yes.
Right? Like, okay, I'm going to play. And, you know, the team, they don't want to trade you in the first place.
Right.
So they're looking at it, well, look, he's here. I mean, okay, he's upset, but maybe over time that'll change.
No.
And we're playing well. You know what I mean? That makes it, I think that could make it less likely that they trade you.
Well, how about they do it like this, Skip? Then I'm going to let you have it. What if they do it like an Andre Drummond situation? We're going to pay you, and we try to find out a scenario to accommodate you. So therefore, hey, don't worry about it. Just sit on the bench like they did Drummond, like they did Blake Griffin, Skip. It's like, look, we're going to pay you. We don't want you to play. Mm-hmm. You want to move in another direction. We're going to try to find someone a suitable trade. Now, we're not trying to give you away, Ben. We want to get something back, although I don't believe you.
I wouldn't pay him.
Oh, yeah, you got to pay me. No, you got to pay me, Chris.
You got 4 years. You got 4. We'll pay you. You got 4 years, $147 million left on your deal. But if you're not showing up ready to play, I can't pay you.
Okay.
That's a long-term deal. That's 4 years.
You want long-term problems?
I'm willing to pay you if you play.
You want long-term problems? That's what I'm going to give you, long-term problems.
That's why I said it. That's why I said this is a game of chicken.
First of all, I am trying to unsee this Jersey Jock reference, and it's just stuck in my head like a bad song that I can't get out of my head.
That's all I'm coming to practice, because y'all know y'all going to say, he crazy for real. He's really doing this every day.
Okay.
Oh, you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, the Jersey and jock strap.
Skip, you can speak to this, Skip. What was Charles Haley doing to get up out of San Francisco? Did it work?
We can't speak of it.
Did it work?
It's unspeakable.
Did
yes,
it work?
Did.
Okay, did.
But if we could get graphic enough to detail what he did, it was way beyond Jersey and Jock.
Exactly. But it worked.
He actually went into the general manager's office.
And did something he had no business doing.
Left something behind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, yeah.
I heard that.
Okay.
I think I've heard that.
Thank you. Next. The more I think about this, the more I believe the Sixers should dig in and say no. Hold feet to fire, call bluff, and say, we have paid you 1 year of $33 million. You owe us 4 more years on this contract. And to the point of Doc, the more I analyze what you said was a bridge burner, like you cannot go back from that statement. Well, Doc could argue, well, I was just talking about point guard. That doesn't mean we can't bring in a primary ball handler and move Ben to one of the forwards, right? He is the primary ball handler. Maybe he's not suited for that.
Right.
But, Chris, what I keep trying to remind Shannon of, this still very young man at age 25, I think he just turned 26 now that I think about it. But again, rookie of the year, all-star in his next 3 years. And the last 2 years, first team all-defense. 2 years ago, led the league in steals at 6 feet 10 inches tall. And I keep reminding Shannon of one game. It was just one game, very small sample size, February 13th at Utah, in which without Joel Embiid, because he got angry, did Ben Simmons at Rudy Gobert spouting off about winning Defensive Player of the Year. He said, okay, watch this. And I love Ben when he plays angry. I love LeBron when he plays angry, when he gets a bee in his bonnet, as they say, and he says, okay, watch this. I love LeBron and Ben Simmons as watch this, because they have lower motors for the most part, and Ben's is very even keel, but he got angry and played with some rage that night, and he goes for 42, and he makes 12 of 13 free throws. And every time I try to break down his free throw stroke, it looks pure to me. It's in his head. He's got demons. He needs to be put on somebody's couch and fixed psychologically, not physically. The stroke is just fine, and I think you think the stroke is fine.
But Skip, he doesn't want to fix it there. But what I tell Chris, what I keep telling Skip, if you look at Ben Simmons' best games, who hasn't been in the lineup? Joel Embiid. That 42-point night, Joel Embiid didn't play. That 31-point performance that he had against Brooklyn, Joel Embiid didn't play.
All right, I got it. But he is too valuable to give away right now. And right now, you would have no choice but to give him away. You take our problem off. No, you can't do that. You have to say, Ben, you're either going to play this year or you can just go home and sit and watch, and we will take your money, because the NBA will say you're suspended, and the Sixers will say we don't have to pay you your $33 million. Right. I believe this game of chicken, and that's exactly what Chris called it this now, and I called it that to open our show. Right. I believe that the Sixers are not going to blink, and I believe they're going to send Ben home if that's where he wants to go, and he can just cool out at home for the whole season if it comes to that.
Well, you going to pay me, Chris? I go home. I go home. You going to pay me?
Yeah, but you're not going to get paid.
Pay him.
No, I got to get that money, though.
They don't pay him.
I got to get that money, Chris.
See, like I said, that's where it comes. And look, Shannon, I get where you're coming. Well, let me address this first, Skip. Their winning percentage, they have shown, I agree with you, Simmons has been great when Embiid's not there, because he can play more in the dunker spot, in the half court, and the lane is open and all that. And that's what a lot of teams that like him around the league are thinking. They're thinking kind of like Giannis. We know they're a little bit different, but you can build around him like Giannis, whereas he brings the ball up in transition, and in the half court, you surround him with shooters. And I agree with that. I think it could be a really good team that way. But they've won almost 70% of their games with both of those guys in the lineup. and only 50% with one of them missing. So if it's only Embiid, they win 50%. If it's only Simmons, they win 50%. So they are better with both of them. But Shannon, quickly, I hear what you say about Doc and Embiid in their comments, and I get where Ben's coming from. And also, I think he's bothered that they put him in the trade for James Harden.
Thank you.
Before last season.
Yep.
He remembers that, right? That's the problem when a trade doesn't go through, but it gets public, you're in trouble with that player. That said, I do want Ben to look in the mirror, though.
Yes.
Like, the way he's acting speaks of victim card. And he's not a victim. I get it. They did him wrong and here and there. But he's got to look in the mirror and say, I did shoot 34% from the foul line in the playoffs. I have not. After 4 years of playing basketball in this league, I still won't take jump shots. Like, I want him to look in the mirror and understand that, like Magic did after the tragic Johnson finals in '84, like Michael did when he said, I got to get in the weight room against Detroit in the playoffs, like LeBron did after the 2011 series with Dallas. These guys were better than Ben Simmons. And they still looked in the mirror and said, I got to be a better player.
Yes.
And I think Ben is looking at everybody else instead of looking at himself and saying, you know what, Doc, I ain't like what Doc said, but I can't argue with that at this point. I got to go prove him wrong. And so I would like to see a little more of that from Simmons.
Chris, but guess what? If Ben Simmons was doing what he was supposed to be, if he was the player that everybody projected him to be, his name would have never came up for James Harden. They're like, y'all better get out my face. I'm not trading the guy that's giving me 22, 10, and 6. Instead, he's giving you 14, 15, 6, and 7. No, bruh. And he won't shoot a jumper. He won't shoot. If he don't get to lay the ball up and dunk it, what he gonna do? And you can't play him in the fourth quarter. That can't be a point guard. That cannot be your starting point guard that becomes unplayable in the fourth quarter. It just can't.
I don't know. I don't know how this plays out. Chris, thank you for weighing in today. We appreciate your time, and we'll definitely be checking.
I'm parking in your parking spot, Chris. You're going to get me up out of here.
No mercy.
Well, this weekend on Fox, it's a good one. Start Saturday strong with the big noon kickoff pregame show at 10 a.m. Eastern. We are live from Soldier Field in Chicago. And then at noon Eastern, Jack Cohn, 12th ranked Fighting Irish, taking on his former team in number 18, Wisconsin. A huge big noon Saturday begins 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific on Fox and the Fox Sports app. It's going to be a good one from Chicago. Well, guys, Tony Pollard made a statement in the Cowboys' win over the Chargers, racking up over 100 yards on the ground. And many are now calling for Dallas to continue to use the combination of Pollard and Zeke out of the backfield. Jerry Jones said on his weekly radio interview that having the two backs is, quote, an outstanding situation because Pollard surprised the defense with his speed and Zeke, quote, punishes the hell out of those defenders. So, Shannon, is this 1-2 punch underrated or overrated?
Well, Skip, I think the thing is that I think they're rated just fine. I don't believe they're not Kareem Hunt and Bradley and Chubb. Not Bradley Chubb, but Nick Chubb.
Unfortunately, Bradley Chubb's got issues.
Yeah, but they're not Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Right.
I don't think they're that duo, but I think they're a very solid duo, Skip. And I agree with Jerry. Skip, when you have a duo, you need to have a contrast. If we go back and look at duos from Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris to Mercury Morris and Larry Zonk, you throw Jim Kick in there, Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs more currently. Skip, there needs to be a contrast. You can't have two of the same two power guys or two speed guys. One guy's electricity, the other guy's thunder, more power.
Yep.
That's how Zeke runs. Zeke punish you. And now all of a sudden you bring a fresh guy in there. You're only going to give him X amount of carries, Skip. And I know everybody's saying, man, he had 9 carries for $113. Just imagine what happened if you get him 20 carries. You get him broke up, beat down, because his body is not for that.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Give him 8, 9, 10 carries. Throw him another 2 to 3 passes. So that's somewhere, 12, 13, 14 plays per game. They'll continue to be explosive while allowing Zeke to punish the defense, wear them down, and now all of a sudden they're tired, and here come Tony Pollard. I was going to say Mike.
It's okay.
Tony.
You'll get it right because he's going to force you to get it right.
Yeah, so I just think the thing is they're doing a great job, and I don't think they stumbled on this, Skip. I think they knew, they can see. The data shows them, the numbers showed them that Zeke is not the same guy 2016, 17, 18 Zeke is not the same guy in 2021. We got a guy that can lighten some of the load, that can give us some of the explosiveness that Zeke's used to give us. Skip, there are very few guys that are what we call bell cow backs anymore. You get C-Mac in Carolina. You get a Dalvin Cook. You get a big Derrick Henry. But for the most part, everybody runs a two-back system. So Dallas,
and when you get to San Francisco and Baltimore, they run like 10-back systems, right?
They do.
You just keep putting in another one.
This system is so good it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You be down to your 7th back, and he's getting 85, 90 yards like he's the number 1 back.
I got it.
So I do agree with Jerry. I think this is a great situation. They stumbled on a great situation, but I don't think they stumbled on it. I think they saw the data was telling them. And what Skip, these guys are really smart. They use data. They don't just use analytics to say, should we go for 2, Skip, or do we punt the ball in this situation? They use data on their own players. And when they look at the numbers and they look at Zeke's numbers and they look at the amount of carries, they say he would be better in a system like this as a split back guy as opposed to being the bell cow. So we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone while maximizing every guy's ability.
I'm shocked at your answer. I thought you would scream overrated across the table. Because you've told me Zeke is in decline. He will never bounce back to what he was the first 3 years in this league. And you have repeatedly told me that Mike Pollard is overrated because he's not that consistent, that he has a flash here, a burst there, but over time he cannot be a bell cow. Right.
But did you use him like this? Because, Skip, you and I both know if they thought, how many times Emmitt Smith split carries?
Okay. I got a better one for you. If I go back to 1986 with my Dallas Cowboys, they brought in Herschel Walker and decided, we can have a dynamic duo with him and Tony Dorsett. No, Tony's not going to sit still for this, nor should he. No. Because you can't have 2 superstars at one position, okay? But now, this is why I'm about to explain to you, and I think your heart is telling you we're heading in this direction. My new dynamic duo is dramatically underrated because it is right on time with the emergence, the maturity level of Tony Pollard. Don't call me Mike Pollard.
Okay.
And Zeke bouncing back from what he used to be to what he can be right now, which is no longer the Zeke, the Ohio State Zeke.
So you agree with me on that one?
I only agree with you this much. He did recommit to his overall body shape. He got himself in very new and different shape. He lost his double chin. He says he got a nutritionist and a cook. Got it. So all of a sudden, I'm seeing a new commitment for a guy who got humbled beyond belief last year because he averaged 65 yards a game.
Right.
So right on time, Tony is emerging while Zeke is accepting where he is at this point in his 6th season, where I can still be that guy. Can he not punt? Jerry is not exaggerating when he said, can he punish defense? Right. He can take it out. He can take pounds of flesh. Right. If we could quickly see just his touchdown run the other day, I think he's hard to tackle when he gets going down a hill because he has still got warrior mentality. That's just crashing through people. Does anybody in this league have better body lean than Zeke going downhill?
But look at Skip. Look at Zach Martin. Zach Martin. Why Zach Martin guard? He got his guy in his on his back.
Bulldozer.
Look at Zach.
Listen, he's a Hall of Famer.
I can run it. I can score on that.
But what do I tell you? Zeke behind Zach, right? Okay, but there were a couple of 3rd downs the other day where he just crashed through the line because he will not spare his body. He will not protect. He's got warrior mentality.
Yes.
I'm seeing a little quicker Zeke. I don't see a faster Zeke. I don't see open field make you miss Zeke anymore, and I don't think we'll ever see that. But can he punish a defense to the point where they start getting tired in the 4th quarter of having to deal with him? Yes, they can.
And then you bring the little speedy guy in.
Then the speedy guy, I need to see 50% of the speed. I need to see 50-50 snaps because there are a couple of indications, a couple of places at Tampa, what happened on the 3rd and 1, the toss play, if we could see it, where I like my odds here. I've got my bell cow back in the open field against a 3rd-string practice squatter, and he couldn't make him miss, and he couldn't beat him to the pylon.
But, Skip, you do realize that every time people see Mike, the thing that you have to your advantage is that when I see him in the ball game, I'm thinking pass.
Okay. Thinking with
With Tony Pollard.
With Tony Pollard.
Yes.
Okay, remember, Tony Pollard at Memphis, I watched him a lot.
Yeah.
He was more of a receiver than a running back.
Right.
Okay, so that's an untapped resource. We're tip of iceberg with him because he can flat out catch it. And I would not mind seeing occasional dynamic duo, Thunder and Lightning, line up together in the backfield because you're going to make them guess what are you going to do to us?
Right.
Because don't underestimate Zeke. On key plays, can still get out of the backfield. Remember the third down? This is the play of the game, 3rd and 4. If we could see it at Chargers. This is it. This is for all the marbles. And guess who Dak trusted the most to throw it to? And I know it's not a sophisticated route. It's just that I trust him to get open in the flat, and I trust him to catch it, and I trust him to run over whoever's in his way to get to the stake.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so I've seen that a lot. We still haven't seen Tony Pollard get exploited as a dynamic pass catcher out of the back or line him up in the slot occasionally.
Because they anticipate that he's going to catch the ball, so they normally bring the nickel or the dime defense on the field when he's in the backfield, Skip.
So I classically have Thunder and Lightning. I have Zeke at the point of his career where he won't balk, he won't make waves at sharing snaps with Tony Pollard. In fact, he may welcome it because he's sacrificing his body, what's left of it, dying, quote unquote, for the cause. And why not take a few snaps off to rest up a little bit and save yourself for being able to hammer away in the 4th quarter until they say no moss on defense.
Skip, I totally agree. But I think the thing is that they realize that Zeke is not what Zeke once was. And the best way to maintain and still get value from him is to put him in a sharing role. Let Tony Pollard get 12, 13 carries. Let Zeke, instead of giving Zeke 25, 30 carries, Skip, maybe we give him 15, 17. We still going to run the ball 30-plus times, but it's going to be between 2 guys as opposed to 1 guy.
If you had tossed that play, that 3rd and 1 play at Tampa to Tony Pollard, he waltzes to the pylon. To me, he's got extreme burst.
Oh, he does.
If you had Tony Pollard in the game on the quote-unquote Hail Mary at the end of the half at Chargers, if we'd see it real quick, you throw it to CD and you've got who's trailing him? Zeke. Well, he can't run anymore the way he used to run. If this is Tony Pollard, this guy can run with the ball, but he gets loose and now he tosses it to Zeke, who can no longer take it to the pylon. Tony Pollard might win that race to that to the pylon, right?
I don't know. It'd been close. Derwin Jones was coming. He raced him to the point. It'd have been good, but Skip, also, but you got to also understand now, in the passing situation, that guy's going to have to block also. Do you believe Tony Pollard going to stick his nose in there like Zeke?
I do not, because Zeke is simply the best at blitz pickup I've seen, and he flat out cold stoned Devin White a couple of times at Tampa.
Exactly.
So he will pay dividends that way. He will earn his best running back salary that way.
Yes. But he's still there's a role that he can play. It's not the bell cow role that he once played, but he can still play a significant role, still give you value. But Tony Pollard, I think moving forward, the best way for the Cowboys to maximize their running game is to have both of these guys do it.
I think you just agreed with me. We have a dynamic duo.
I don't know about no dynamic.
Dynamic
duo.
duo.
I don't know about dynamic.
We got a underrated duo.
God.
Thank you for concurring.
No mercy. Earlier, we debated if letting Tom Brady go was the biggest mistake in NFL history. The 44-year-old QB definitely is not slowing down. We know that by now. After his league-leading 9 passing touchdowns so far this season, he has now thrown for 154 touchdowns in his 40s. With another 14, he will have passed for more touchdowns in his 40s than he did during his 20s. Shannon, honestly, how incredible is this?
It sounds really nice, Skip. But the way QB's numbers are, Skip, this is not shocking, especially when you consider Tom Brady didn't start until he was 24 years of age. And he missed, and so when you factor that in, he started 6 seasons in his 20s. He's already in his 5th season starting in his 40s. You look at the numbers. Tom Brady in his 20s averaged 24.5 touchdowns per season. 16 guys last year threw for 25 or more touchdowns. So that just goes to show you, Skip, where the trajectory is. The offense in New England, Skip, it wasn't Brady-centric. You know that. They ran the football a lot more, and Brady was sensational. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. The guy won 3 Super Bowls in his 20s.
You're taking a little away,
Skip,
but go ahead.
Okay, so from 20 So let's get this right. So 21, he was still in college. 22, he was going to turn 23 on August the 3rd.
Yep.
So that was his first year. So he didn't become a starter until 24. And so now you only got 5 years left, Skip. So he played 6 years in his 20s. He's at 5 right now in his 40s.
Okay.
Now, I'm saying what he's doing in his 40s, we probably will never, ever see again.
Ever
see that again. Skip, think about it. Drew Brees is the next closest player in touchdowns with 57. Tom Brady's at 154.
Yep.
So there's a great chance, I believe he'll play at least, Skip, next year. I believe that'd be 23. I believe he plays 23 seasons if that's it. He can legitimately be at 200 touchdowns. And the next closest guy will be 57. So for me, I don't believe anybody's going to touch that record, that 40-year record of 200-plus touchdowns. I don't believe that. But when you look at what he's been able to do, Skip, he's only one fewer year from starting than he did in his entire 20s. That's why, Skip, you say, well, he's going to throw for more touchdowns. It's a different game now than when he first got into the league. But I think the longevity is what's most important, is most impressive. And he's been able to throw for this many touchdowns in his 40s. You might be able to, when it's all said and done, Skip, you might take every quarterback that was in his 40s, and Tom Brady will have thrown for more touchdowns than all of them combined.
Okay, Tom, I got your back again here on the show.
What's to have his back?
I will not let the Hall of Famer across from me disparage your achievements, even in your 20s, because let's look harder at what he did do for a run-based team in his 20s.
Okay.
And he started at age 24, as you said, and then 25, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yes.
Okay, those are his 20 years before he turns 30.
That was 6 of those.
Okay, and when he turned 30, only when he turned 30 did he finally get his
injury,
flashiest new toy. No, he got Randy Moss. 07, right? So he finally got a superstar receiver as he turned 30, in August 3rd. And then going into that season, he had Randy Moss. And really, he only had him at Randy Moss levels for 1 year. And then you know the rest of the story. Okay. At age 25, in his second year of starting, he led the National Football League in touchdown passes with 28. Again, new game, new day. Okay, I got
28 ain't gonna get you nothing now.
Okay, I got it. But he did do that. So you got to give him that he led the whole league as a sophomore starter, second-year starter.
We played them in 02. They were bad.
Bad football team?
Yeah, because they had just come off the Super. Remember, they had just come off the Super Bowl.
Yep. Okay, but he's still doing that. But then they turned it right around the next year. And even though he had only 23 touchdown passes in the regular season, he lit up the playoffs and especially the Super Bowl MVP again, because against Carolina in that game, I thought he threw a party. It was in Houston, I believe. I was there. 32 of 48 passes in the Super Bowl game for 354 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's pretty spectacular, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that is a 27. Well, it'd be your 26. Yeah, 6. You'd still be 26 at that point, okay? So let's not undercut what he was capable of doing in big games for those Patriots.
Yes. But you mentioned, Skip, think about what at 26, he only threw for 23 touchdowns.
Okay.
Last year at 42, Skip, he threw for 40.
Okay, but he comes back 28, 26, 24 touchdowns through his 20s.
Right.
Okay? That's the way the game was played at that point. Okay, I'll buy that. But the incredible part about it is he looks to me better than ever at 44. You disagree. You think it's just talent-based. But again, I could throw other quarterbacks into that group down there, and they wouldn't do as well. He is perfection with that group.
You would throw other quarterbacks down there at 40 and not do that well? Or you saying you put Patrick Mahomes or you put Aaron Rodgers down there, they wouldn't throw that many touchdowns?
I think they would do very well right now. I just don't think either one of those guys would have been able to win the Super Bowl last year by turning the whole franchise around.
I do.
And changing the face of the franchise, instilling a whole new level of confidence.
Can you imagine what Patrick Mahomes would do if his defense got him the ball for them? Like Tom Brady's defense did for him, that last stretch.
They did not know how to win, and I don't believe young Patrick could have taught them that.
I'm talking about the Patrick Mahomes we see right now. The Patrick Mahomes last year. If his defense could give him that, think about that, Skip. If the man just threw for 350 something.
All right. I don't see any signs of slowing down in Tom Brady. You do. You think one more year and he's done, but you've been saying that for 5 years.
But Skip, I'm saying when we look at it and you say, well, yes, what he did, the 3 Super Bowls, but you look at the numbers, Skip, the numbers now, quarterbacks now, if you don't throw for 30 touchdowns, you really didn't have a good season.
Okay, I got it.
And I don't think, did he have a 30 touchdown season in his 20s?
Mm-mm.
And now look, he had only one less than 30 in his 40s.
Yeah, well, he's doing it and he's making it look easy, and he's.
That's all I'm trying to do, Skip. Just give you a little context.
He may have 30 after Sunday.
No mercy.
According to reports, LeBron has planned a 3-day players-only minicamp in Las Vegas ahead of the Lakers training camp that begins next week. The King did something similar 2 years ago when he led the purple and gold to a title in the first year. Anthony Davis joined the team. So, Shannon, does this mean LeBron's Lakers will win it all again this year?
No, there's nothing you can do in pro sports to guarantee you an opportunity that you're going to win it all. All you can do is try to put yourself in the best situation to give you the best chance to win. I think, Skip.
You don't love this?
No, I love it. I love it. But it doesn't Jenny said, does it guarantee? No, it does not guarantee.
Okay.
It. All it does is.
He bubbled it, right? Did he not go bubblicious off going to Vegas?
All this is doing, Skip, is that they're going to be playing with a lot of new guys. For the most part, only AD, LeBron, Horton Tucker, and Dwight has ever played together. Well, there's a 12 to 15-man roster, so that means all the other guys have never played together. So let me find out where you want the ball. Where do you like the ball? This is where I want the ball. This is how I like to get set up. There are no guarantees in sports. The only thing you can do, Skip, is work your tail off, put yourself in the best situation to give yourself the best chance of winning. This gives them an excellent opportunity, but there are no guarantees in sports.
This is 3 days in Vegas. It's not like he's not taking it to Des Moines for a little pre-training camp,
What difference does it make where you go? You practice, do you have a 10-foot rim? Are you in a gymnasium that's 94 feet?
I suspect there'll be more team bonding than practicing, more partying than practicing.
We don't do that. It's time to get. It's time to get down to the nitty-gritty.
I think they'll be sipping some beverages.
Yeah.
I think they'll be smoking some fine cigars.
Yes.
Right?
But we're going to get that work in.
Okay.
We're going to get that work in.
I think this is the party, the team bonding party before the work begins. The real work begins in about 4 or 5 days, right? When they go to real training camp.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, but they normally go to like Hawaii somewhere and train. This is Vegas, little old Vegas. Little old Vegas.
They'll take that town.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Does it?
Practice hard. That's all we do. We practice it.
I still can't figure out why LeBron, in his first year with the Lakers, did not go to Vegas.
See, I knew you were going to do that.
Wonder why? Because he was chasing Michael B. Jordan because he was more interested in Hollywood than he was in winning another championship. Am I right?
No, that's not. Well, Skip, why you do that?
Well, that's weird. He'd done it every place he'd been, in Cleveland, Miami. They'd always done this. And then he comes to L.A., and the first year he doesn't take his team on a bonding trip.
So he didn't take them. You took something from that. He did take him. You take him something from that. So how does he win besides winning another championship? And then you're going to say, well, he had to take AD and Russell Westbrook and all that. You're going to find a way to try to diminish it.
Well, I like this. I mean, this would indicate that he's serious about winning a championship.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. So every year Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, he took his receivers to throw.
No. I don't know that.
No, exactly. That's my point.
But he would take Edelman and Amendola to Montana, right?
Oh, that was in the documentary when he did Time versus Time.
Okay.
Now, what happened? So what happened before that? David Patton, rest your soul, and Deion Brand and Troy Brown, were they going?
All I know is he's 7-3 in Super Bowls, and LeBron is 4-6.
He got checked
in finals.
One guy got 4 MVPs.
Really?
Regular season MVP, it means you the best player.
Huh, really?
13-time first-team All-NBA, which one you one of the best players.
6 out of 7 Super Bowls he won with game-winning drives in the fourth quarter or overtime.
Skip,
unheard of, impossible beyond LeBron's wildest imagination.
It doesn't matter if you have a game-winning drive or you win by 50. You won. Tom Brady won. LeBron won. LeBron doesn't have 4 walk-off shots to win the series.
Please don't keep bringing up Tom Brady when we're talking about LeBron.
You brought it up. All I'm saying is that you keep trying to diminish the man. The man doing the right thing.
You brought it up. I didn't.
It can be a combination of both, right?
Have fun, LeBron.
No mercy.
Despite reports that Ben Simmons never wants to suit up for the 76ers again, Doc Rivers hasn't given up on his star point guard. In an interview this morning, Doc said that he hopes to change Simmons' mind and, quote, would love to get Ben back. Shannon, will he succeed?
I don't believe so, Skip. You see how mild-mannered and calm and Doc was when he said what he said? That's what he should have said after that loss in Game 7. That's the tone in which you set. Of course we can win a championship with Ben Simmons. He's a great player. Ben's going to get in the gym, improve, and we'll be back in this situation again. I don't believe it's going to work.
And I do. Doc Rivers is the most persuasive coach of any sport I've been around this side of Phil Jackson. He can use that silver tongue that he uses so well because he is eloquent. He can really pour it on with the emotion and passion and conviction that I believe if Ben will give him time and audience, that slowly he'll turn this back around. He spoke in the heat of defeat, obviously in the agony of defeat, and I'm sure he wishes he had not said that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's just say for the sake of argument, a reporter asked Ben Simmons, do you believe you can win a championship as Doc Rivers as your head coach? I don't believe I can answer that at this time. We're going to have to see.
But it was only as my point.
Okay, as a head coach.
That's it for Undisputed, guys. Good stuff today. The Herd is on next. Have a good one.